if you are somebody who's thinking about whether you should start a business, if you're thinking about innovation or maybe a change in your business, if you're somebody who's had this kind of business idea and you're wondering whether you should turn that into a business idea, in this video, in this live stream, I'm going to be talking about 6 mistakes that I made that I can help you to avoid in getting that thing set up and going. I think the first answer I can give to the question is, should you start a business? If you're thinking about it, the answer to the question is yes, you should. If you're inclined to go in that direction and you're thinking about it, then there's a question of like the who, what, when, where, how, why. And we can talk about the why shortly. So if you are watching this live, let me know where in the world you are watching from. I'm here to help you guys. Hey, Ryan, great to have you on board. The boys and ladies here in the studio have helped me. I've got a dashboard of the comments on YouTube, so I can see that dashboard. So let me know where in the world you are watching from. I'm here live. We've got plenty of time for me to answer questions, so we can do a Q&A through this. So drop your questions if you have got them in the comments on YouTube. Or if you want to send me a direct message and you don't kind of want, your name named, you can send me a direct message on Instagram. Kiana is monitoring my Instagram account. So if you've got a mobile device handy and you're watching on a big screen, you can flip over to Instagram and send me a direct message on Instagram, or send me a direct message on LinkedIn. So thanks to Kiana, Luke, and Cam are here in the studio helping me this morning to make this amazing for you guys. In this video, I'm going to go through these 6 mistakes that I've made and hopefully turn those into strengths and opportunities for you as you start to think about starting your own business. So I guess the first thing to think about is, why do you want to start your own business? When I started my own business in October of 2004, it was, I had other little kind of, activities happening prior to that. But the first real significant go I had at it, which was to quit and leave my full-time job and to go and basically start a freelancing business analyst advisory organization, which has had a few different names, but now it's called Best Practice. We've got other companies we've started, other brands we've started along the journey, and there's 4 companies or 5 companies that run out of this office with different groups of people and different teams. Some of them mix and intermingle with each other, some of them don't, but there's 3 distinctly different groups. And so I think if you are somebody who's thinking about starting a business, I think you should. And I think you should start taking my permission. I'm giving you permission to do that, to lean into, okay, well, how can I do this and when can I do it? Like, when's the right time? And we can talk about that. So I think and I want to get into this really quickly for you guys. I don't want to waffle on too much. Is I think the first test and maybe the first concern is, will I be successful? And I want to make this successful. And I think some people kind of stall and wait because they're worried about whether it's going to be successful. And that might be whether you're going to make enough money to pay your bills, your rent, your mortgage, you look after your family, your kids, all those kinds of things. I think that's something that, that worries us all. And it definitely worries, everybody, more so the older you get. So I'm 47 years old and I still think about my mortgage and, I've got school fees to pay and I've got to look after the household. Not only that, we've got 70 people that we need to pay in the Best Practice organization every week. Across this site that I'm on right now, there's 200 people that need to be, salaries and wages every week. And then the other businesses that we have. So it's not just my own bills that I've got to worry about. It is definitely everybody else. So I think, that might be one of the fears that you've got is, am I going to be successful? Are people going to buy what I want? Buy what I sell, what I make, what I have? Are people, is this thing going to be the next unicorn? Is it going to be successful, or is it going to give me the life I want? So let me just go through a couple of, if I troll the back of my mind, the reasons why I started my business. First reason I started my business, and this is going to sound crazy, but I was working a full-time job and I had my holidays rejected. So I put in for my annual leave. I'd been working really hard. I was really burnt out. My wife, my wife at the time said, and actually she was my girlfriend at the time, then fiance, then wife. We got married later on. She said, I want to go away on holidays. I'm not seeing you. We want to take 2 weeks off and go do some travel. My holidays were rejected. So my boss said, no, we can't afford. You're one of our main revenue areas for the business. We can't afford to let you have 2 weeks off. And I said, okay, that's fine. When can I take some leave? And it had happened a number of times. I said, okay, when can I take the leave? They gave me the 2 weeks, when I could take the leave. So I booked holidays and booked hotels and flights around that. Then they canceled it again. And I guess I wasn't confident to say, hey, actually I've booked all of this stuff. So I copped the cancellation fees. We lost money. I was really frustrated. And I don't know why. I was just trying to do the right thing by them. I was like, okay, fine. I understand. They didn't reimburse me the expenses that I lost. We managed to reschedule. And I said, all right, we're going to cancel it. When's the next time? And so, I got the dates from them, rescheduled, and they tried to cancel again. Anyway, the third time I was like, that's it. I'm going on holidays. You've done this to me twice. And by that time, 8 months had gone past. So it was kind of a choice between my job and my employer and upsetting them or upsetting my wife or my girlfriend at the time. And you know how it goes, happy wife, happy life. So we took the holiday, came back. The work environment got quite toxic. For me anyway, resentment that I'd taken this leave, and that was from my core manager. So the second reason was to get away from my toxic manager. There was some other things that happened. Luke here in the studio, his grandmother had passed away. He didn't meet his grandmother, I don't think. You did meet your grandmother. So Luke's grandmother, family friends. It's a long story. We'll tell that story later. So Luke's dad is one of my very good friends, and his mum had passed away. I was very close to her, and my employer didn't give me time off to go to the funeral. Funeral was on a work day, and I couldn't go to the funeral. So I was like, this isn't working for me. It's preventing me from kind of having the life that I want to have. I booked some tickets to go to see a band at one stage, and I had to travel that week, so I couldn't use the tickets to go see my favorite band that were playing. And so I wanted to have this, kind of where I'm up to, third or fourth reason, I wanted to have business freedom. So anyone that is watching that's just come online to watch there on YouTube, please let me know where in the world you are watching. Great to have you, Sherry in Texas. Julius, maybe let me know where you are watching from. Matthew, hey, Matt, good to have you on board somewhere in Australia. Long time no see. So if you are watching, if you are on YouTube there, let me know where in the world you're watching from. Even if you're watching after the live stream, I'd love to know where the audience is. And we're going to use those comments for me to answer your questions. So the reason why I'm getting you to comment and let me know where you are, then you can hit me with some questions as well. And I guess the kind of the final reason was to have uncapped earning potential. So I had been kind of fixed income per week, same amount of money in my bank account every week or every fortnight from doing this job. My hours were variable. I was putting a lot of effort in, and I was like, you know what? I'm not able to kind of have the flexibility that I need for my family and my friends, and basically I've got capped income, and I was like, you know what, I can do so much more. Like I can do so much more. I can help more people, and I can do a lot more. I'm destined for more. I knew I was destined for more. So if you're somebody who you're destined for more, you've thought about it, then you've got to back yourself. So what happened was here in Australia, we have this kind of, at the end of our tax year is June 30. I did my tax return, and for whatever reason, I had overpaid tax. I got an $8,000 tax return. So I got $8,000 back from the tax office in about August or September. So I had this $8,000, and I was like, that's the money I'm going to use to start my business. So I said to Fiona, who's my wife, I'm going to use this $8,000. I'd been earning about $1,500 a week, something like that, $1,000 a week. And I was like, I can last for, 8-10 weeks. We can last for 8 to 10 weeks. She had an income. I had an income. And I was like, if I can't get some revenue in the first 8 weeks, then I can start looking for a job. We can go backwards for a little while, and I'll go get a full-time job. So I gave myself 3 months. So here's the first mistake that people can make. And here's the first lesson for you guys. Obviously think about why, and those were my reasons. So you need to think about your reasons. So in terms of actually validating your success is see if you can do some pre-sales. So if you've got a business idea, if the market's going to like your business idea, the ultimate test of success from spectrum, right? Some very unsuccessful business that's going to be a failure to is my business going to be a success? If you can get a customer to prepay you with a pre-sale of your product or service, pay you in advance, that's good for 2 reasons. One is they're like, this is a no-brainer. I want to be first in the queue. And you say, okay, great. Pay me the full price up front for the product or service. And what that does is that turns you into what's called a cash positive business. So there are businesses which are do and charge. Like you go to a restaurant is a do and charge. You book into the restaurant, you go and sit at the table, you order your meal, the kitchen cooks your meal, the wait staff come and serve you the meal. And then at the end of the meal, after you've enjoyed yourself and you're about to leave, you pay the bill. There are some restaurants that are changing to, hey, this is great, enjoy our restaurant, but you order over there at the counter. So you go up to the counter and pay. But what if the restaurant, when you made your booking, said, okay, your meal's going to be, $300, pay you $300 now to secure your booking, and your booking's in 2 weeks' time. That's truly a cash positive business. So that's what I'm talking about with a pre-sale. So I've got a number of businesses where we say to our customers, we're going to give you access to all of these services, like insurance or car registration. And then we basically enable access to all of those services, and we charge and collect the money at the beginning of the period, not at the end. Now, how that's going to help you when you start your business is it means that you don't have to have a huge chunk of money in the bank to get yourself started to serve your customers. Because what basically in a cash negative business is that your customers are borrowing money from you. So you've got to go and buy all your raw materials, all of your other services, all your setup costs, everything. And that's what's called working capital. So you use up all of the money that you've got in the bank before you can provide your service and before your customer pays you. Now, if you end up on a situation where your customer payment terms might be 120 days, then you could have spent all of your money, paid all of your suppliers, given the service, and then the customer says, and by the way, we're not going to pay you for 120 days. Now, my professional opinion on that is really poor form on the side of the customer. It means that the customers, whether they're corporate or whatever, is not truly valuing your service. And the only reason that they are doing that is because they are trying to manage their cash flow at their position when they get paid by their customers. And so I don't think that's a fair way to run the economy, and you have to push back on that, because otherwise you're funding your customers. Your job is not to be a bank. Your job is to provide amazing goods and services. So the first mistake, or the first mistake you can make is becoming a cash negative business. So the first thing you can try to do, and when you're thinking about your business idea, is, can I run pre-sales, or can I run what I like to call a rapid launch? So if you do have questions as we go through this, please ask them in the comments. I've got a huge dashboard here. I've got a big television here, big TV in the studio where I can see all the comments on the live stream. So if you've got questions as we go, please ask them. Okay, number 2. Are you somebody who likes to binge Netflix at night? What do you like to do in your off time? You like to have your weekends off and completely detach. You're somebody who's kind of, I've got my hobbies and I keep my work separate. I keep my work colleagues separate. I keep my life separate. I keep my life separate from work. That's the second big mistake you can make. So if you're that kind of person, then that is an indicator that, no, you shouldn't start a business. Because in my life, and all these guys are life, when I say this, you can't see a line in my life between business and life. There's no distinction. Even at 9 o'clock at night or 9:30 at night, I'm replying to messages. I'm looking at social media as it relates to business. I'm trying to think of ways that I can help you guys, that I can be more inspiring, more energetic, do better social media, do better marketing, give better advice, be more influential. So if you're somebody who likes to keep your life separate, then it's probably not going to work for you, because your business in when you start it will take over your life. So if you are somebody who is, yes, I'm a lifelong learner. Yes, I have an open mindset. Yes, I want to learn about sales. I want to learn about marketing. I want to learn everything there is to technically know about my industry. Then you're kind of going in the right direction. If you're somebody who is very technically minded, like I need to crave all of the technical information, about the specific part or the core part of my industry, and you're not thinking about sales and marketing and finance and all those other areas to be more of a generalist, then that's probably not a great business to start, because there's lots of tangible competencies that you have to learn. I wish I could spend time reading all of the technical stuff about the environmental science that I really love and I'm interested in. I have a Bachelor of Applied Science in Environmental Management. I'm an environmentalist at heart. I love solar panels. I love wind power. I love, water treatment. I love all those amazing things about households and cities and living sustainably, permaculture, all those great things, gardening, growing vegetables. But in this organization, I've had to learn to be a CEO. I've had to learn balance sheet, profit and loss, cash flow, laws, regulations, contract law, how to negotiate with my own lawyers, how to be a great leader, emotional intelligence, emotional resilience, public speaking, sales, marketing, social media, how to prevent live streaming on YouTube, and have 3 people help me in the studio. So you can be a technical freelancer. You can be somebody who provides a very specific technical service to maybe 1 or 2 or 3 customers. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So, but is it a business or is it just a way of crowdfunding what you love doing that's very technical? And that's okay. That's okay. So, but if you're talking about scaling yourself, then you've got to charge increasingly more for your services or have more people working for you or sell more products to actually grow your business. So think about, are you a kind of fixed mindset person that likes to be really technical, or do you like to look at all of the aspects of business? So that's a mistake you can make. And that's the very first mistake I made starting the business, was I became the expert in a particular area of speciality as it related to running companies, industrial regulations, industrial legislation, workplace health and safety, OH&S, environmental specifications and laws, learning about, World Heritage wetlands and flora and fauna and all those kinds of things. And what that did was that held me back from growing a business that I could have grown faster, because I can delegate that speciality to people who love doing it. So have a think about that. Okay, no questions yet. That's excellent. Oh, Pitch from France. Great to have you guys, have you watching from France. So we've got a great global audience. Yes, Matt, I agree. You need to get out and about. So if you're stuck in Sydney, please come and visit us here at Best Practice anytime. So we've got lots going on. So looking forward to seeing you guys before summer ends out on a beach somewhere. Need to catch up with you guys. So one thing okay, so what are we up to? Number three, and this is where my book recommendations start to come in. So I'll get to your idea, your special idea shortly, but my book recommendation is number 1 is this book. So this is an author that I find really follow really closely. So the kids are just going to take a picture. Kids, you guys are kids. Of Effective Executive by Peter Drucker. So when I am thinking about my day, my week, my month, I want you to draw the distinction between productivity and busy. Unfortunately, we're putting like a badge of honor on busy. I put a badge of honor on effective. And some people might look at me and look at what I'm doing as like he is randomly doing stuff all of the time, and he's everywhere and he's crazy and he's busy. I'm spending every single minute of every single day trying to be effective. I'm trying to pack as much into my life as possible, and I'm constantly asking this: and the thing about this is am I an executive that has an effect? So busy is one thing, but effect. So think about that keyword there of effect. And this is a book that I read and reread. It was published in, it's not hot off the press. It was published in 2004 was the first time this was published. So I want you guys to be thinking about that. And so from a productivity perspective, it's focusing on doing one really big thing. If you're somebody who likes to make sure that all of your pens are ordered on your desk is neat and tidy, and you can't work until you've done that, then you probably don't want to go and start a business, because sometimes you need to be able to psychologically handle the mess and the chaos and just actually see through the chaos and see through the forest to the one most really important thing that you can do today to shift everything forward. And I do that minute by minute. In this minute, what's the most important thing I can be doing that will make everything else irrelevant? So there's a couple of great books. That's I think one of the best books. There's a couple of others. Focal Point by Brian Tracy is a good book that I can recommend. But I wanted to just show you this one in terms of, should I start a business? How can I make it successful? Okay. Book number 2, and we're still talking kind of about productivity, is this book, which is The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. Violate them at your own risk. I've violated every single one of the rules in this book, and I felt absolutely gutted when I read it for the very first time because I had made all of these mistakes. I didn't have kind of the one book when I started. I didn't have when I started my business, we were on dial-up internet. There wasn't things like this YouTube video to give you, access mentors and get advice on starting businesses. So the one page that I want you to read, or the chapter, is chapter 2, The Law of Category. So here it comes. Is my business idea a good one? Is my business idea going to be something successful? And if you can start and be first and own a category. Now, it's not about being first in business. It's not about being first in iPhones or first in coffee mugs or first in what it is. But what I can say is that we're the first management organization in Australia to produce a 100-page magazine, for example. There's plenty of other things that you can get out in the market, but this is our magazine. It's Infinite Magazine. It's my third book that I should recommend that you read. You can download it from our website, or you can reach out to us directly and we will get you a hard copy. These are beautiful, but we're first to produce Infinite Magazine. And that is one of the things that we do. We've got lots of great articles. It's lots of quick reads and lots of pretty pictures to help you with management and becoming a better leader and a better business owner for your organization. And that's something that we do for you guys, and it's more content. So if you want to read something as well as watch something, you can get a hold of a copy of that. And I think Matt Jenkin, you probably should have seen this at some stage. And if you haven't got a copy, we'll get one out to you because you're close by. But anyone else watching, just send us a direct message on Instagram with all of your details and we'll get you a copy of it. And maybe Vanessa, if you're watching, you can drop a link to Infinite Magazine in the comments. Okay, great. So that's Infinite Magazine. So the law of category is about, is there a market for my product or service or my idea? Luke and I were having a conversation with this a couple of weeks ago, actually, when we were out in a boat talking, which is there's a saying that goes, there's riches in the niches. There's riches in the niches, or riches in the niches, as we say here in Australia. That statement is wrong. There's not riches in the niches. We need to know if there is niches in the riches. Does that make sense? So it's not, there's a niche, there's a niche in the market. It's, is there a market in the niche? Is there a market in the niche? Now, often the reason why there's a niche in the market is because there's no market in the niche. Are you with me? No one's interested in buying that product or service. So I have this saying that says, and I point at my head, you see me do this in videos, don't be a focus group of one. However, there's a balance, which is you do have to scratch your own itch. So I'm writing a book at the moment. And why am I writing a book? Because the book I need doesn't exist. So I'm writing the book I need. I need a book to help run our companies. I need a book to help you run your companies. And I'm recommending hundreds of books all of the time. And everyone's saying, we don't have time to read all of those books. We're not motivated to read all of those books. I'm not interested in reading all of those books. So I'm scratching my own itch, which is essentially I'm building the book, but I know there's a bunch of people out there that want to start businesses. They want the kind of the top 10 things to start with and focus on. I'm going to put that in the book that we're putting together, and I'm scratching my own itch. But it's based on market demand, and it's based on listening to people wanting the thing that I've got. So it comes back to pre-sales, and it comes back to if people will pay for things up front, if people will give you pre-sales because they're like, this is a no-brainer, there's so much value there, I want to be first, I want to access it, I want that thing, then that's a good indicator for you. So testing the market, talking to 100 people and saying, hey, do you have, what are some of the challenges you've got? So you've got to be curious. And then you've got to A/B split test. So you'll read about like A/B split testing in any marketing book and starting to think about, okay, what works, what doesn't work. So if you're coming out with something, if you're coming out with a product or service, perfect can be the enemy of success because it's just it's like a hidden agenda for procrastination. So to be successful and start a successful business, you've got to come out with 2 products at the same time because that will force you to stop focusing on perfect. So A/B split test. So come up with 2 versions of the product or 2 versions of the service and then see which one sells. Because then you won't get all hung up on this thing needs to be absolutely amazing before I let my little baby go out into the market. The first thing you want to do is try to get people to pay for it before it even exists. And then the second thing you want to do is come up with 2 options and get your customers to buy both options and say, which one do you like? And Apple does that all of the time. It happens linear because they're coming up with different models of an iPhone. I don't even know, you guys know what model this is. Like it's a 12, I think, a 12 Pro Max. So start thinking about that because that's the constant evolution. Apple didn't wait to come up with the very best iPhone ever. They basically, like I'm on a 12. I started on a 3. I started with an iPhone 3. Now I'm up to an iPhone 12. So you want to acknowledge that as your business evolves over time, you're not just going to build one product and that's going to be it forever. You're going to keep innovating. So just get one out, get it sold, get some revenue in, get feedback from your customers, and then going. So whether it's a product or a service, you want your customers, at the end of the day, your customers are crowdfunding your life. Does that make sense? So all of your income, all this millions of dollars you're going to make, that money right now is in your customers' pockets. It's in their wallets right now. That's where it is. Money for your Lamborghini and your massive beach house and your holidays overseas and your cafe laptop lifestyle, the money to fund that, that's in your customers' bank accounts right now. And so you've got to give them, we talk about giving value, but it's got to be, if you can think about it like this, it's got to be this concept of the customer is like, oh my God, I can't leave my money in my bank account any longer because I need that product or service either to give me more money or more value, or I can't resist. This money is burning a hole in my pocket. I've got to get that thing. Like it's in demand. So something that Vanessa did for us as part of our team last week in our own business planning was look at trends, like things that are going away and things that are coming. And the thing that stood out for me the most was like, I carry these things around. Like I'm driving an old truck today. That's the old start key for the old Land Cruiser that you might have seen, the ute or utility or pickup truck that I drive. That's in some of our videos. Vanessa's telling us in our business planning session last week, and she's outside the studio watching right now, that these things are going to cease to exist. This key right now, this key, I don't need this anymore because I can use this to unlock. This is the office key. I can use this to unlock the office. These won't exist in a couple of years. Like literally, I could almost live my life right now without those. So those will be a thing of the past. That's old school. Having that many keys, and that's old school. So I've got an old house and that's why I've got keys, but we got keypads, we've got codes, we've got like little microchips we put in our pocket that start our other cars. My other car, I just have a thing I put in my pocket and I can get in my car and press the start button. My next door neighbor who's got a Tesla, he just needs to walk up to his car and his car knows it's him because it's biometric scanning his eyeballs and his body and everything. So he walks up to his Tesla and it says, "Hello, Shane, how are you?" So, and it unlocks and it starts. So keys will be a thing of the past. So I guess the other thing we want to be thinking about is try not to pick a business or product or service that's on its way out. So you've got to do a bit of research and a bit of trends analysis and A/B testing. I didn't do that when I started my business. I went all in on something I thought was a good idea. I did get pre-sales, but I went all in on something that customers were asking for. But what they were asking for was they were asking for a cheaper version of a service that already existed. And I didn't realize that. And so I came into the market a little bit cheaper than my competitors, not realizing that my competitors weren't profitable. So don't make an assumption if you're going into a market to be a competitor that your competitors, if you're going to compete in the market, don't make the assumption that your competitors are profitable. They are working really hard, harder than you, and have already been working harder than you, longer than you in that area. There's a very good chance that they're not successful. So we can talk more about that in a moment, but A/B split testing your product, mate. If you're coming up with a product or service, please don't get paralyzed by perfect. Start testing and testing your market. I've talked about scratch your own itch. I think that's really important to think about because you have a problem that you're seeking to solve. You have a challenge, you have a goal, you have a strategy, and starting to look around you and saying, okay, where are my customers? Where are my opportunities hanging out? Is there anybody else like me? And it ties back to your pre-sales. So start thinking about that. Now, I guess a few people, and this is probably absolutely the biggest mistake that I made in all of my career, is not paying attention to what the really big corporates are looking at. And this is a great book, and it's kind of the final book recommendation for this session, which is The Strategy Beyond the Hockey Stick, People, Probabilities, and Big Moves to Beat the Odds. If you want to be acknowledged for having a successful business, then go into a successful industry. Go into an industry that is growing. Go into an industry like a macro industry that's growing and expanding and is attractive and is trending. I made the mistake of not paying any attention to that. I just went, this is what I can do. These are skills that I have. And I just went out and started selling my skills. And that's been one of my biggest frustrations my whole career, is that I didn't choose a successful industry. Now I know what I know. I would have done things differently. And I want you to avoid that mistake. Just because you've organically got skills where you kind of drifted into the start of your career doesn't mean that you made the conscious decision to choose a trending industry. So you've got to choose a trending industry. You've got to look at consumer behavior. You've got to do those trends. And this book, Beyond the Hockey Stick, is the large advisory service McKinsey and Company. Actually, this is what they use to inform their massive corporate clients, because their massive corporate clients are saying, we're an enormous company, some of the biggest companies in the world. This is who they come to for advice. And you can access it for like $30 or $15 for a secondhand version of this book online, which is to get that advice. What are they looking at? And there is a section right in the middle, and let me just try and find it for you, which is talking about categories of big moves. Let me just try and find it. I had it bookmarked and I've lost it. Just try and find it again for you. Here, there it is. It's double folded. Okay, so the companies that have been the most successful companies in history made big moves. So 1, growing your revenue very, very quickly. 2, increasing your debt capacity. So if you've got good debt capacity, it means you can borrow lots of money, which means you're a healthy company, which when opportunities come up, you can grow even faster. Research and development investment, and that's everything we've talked about already in this session. Industry trends. So paying attention to industry trends. And if you want to be recognized for being a successful business person, go and work in a successful business in a successful industry, or start a successful business in a successful industry. And the easiest way to be successful is something that's on trend. Geographic trends. Pay attention to geographic trends. Think in the future about mergers and acquisitions and divestments. Sell off your underperforming products or sell off underperforming businesses. Resource reallocation, so taking your resources and allocating them in places that it is working. Capital expenditure. Look, literally when I just said that out loud, resource reallocation, I realized I need to make a fast decision about something that's not working here at Best Practice that I've been talking about this morning. Redeploy my resources to an area that is working and is trending, and move quickly on that. Capital expenditure, productivity improvements, differentiation improvements. So page, what's this page? 149 of this book. Buy this book, and I don't sell it and get anything from this, but get a copy of this book and make sure that's part of your research and development, that model there. Okay. There was one other point that I wanted to just quickly make, and I've got some notes there for everybody. I think I'm under control. Any questions from anybody there in the comments? What about you guys in the room that are listening? So here's a question for the audience, anyone that's watching and anyone here in the room. If you guys could get inside my head and ask any question, and no questions off limits, and this for you guys watching, what's the question?
What's a good way of identifying growing industries or industries that might be really popular in the next 10 years?
So Cam's question is, if you didn't hear it through the microphone, was what's a good way to identify something that might be trending in 10 years' time, or what's a good industry to get into? Just a Google search. So there's a great page that we use every day. It's called Google Trends. You can Google Trends, and I think it's trends.google.com. Will come up as a website, and you can monitor. Google is collecting data on what people are searching. So Google's a search engine. It's probably the best centralized aggregator of data in terms of what people are interested in, because they're searching for it on Google. And so you go to Google Trends and you can search trends, and you can see over a macro period, over the last 5 years, what can I see from a trend perspective on the graph? Is it going up? Is it flat? Is it stagnant? And you can look into that. So for example, I did some searches last week. I searched environmental sustainability because it's an area of interest for me. And the graph is flat. It hasn't changed in 10 years. Then I searched metaverse. And the metaverse graph over the same period of 5 years, it has a little blip 5 years ago, and then it has this mental uptick. And so metaverse is like this it's this terminology. It's Web 3.0. It's virtual reality. It's interactive internet with other users in a place at the same time. It's a virtual version of this. That's metaverse. And when you look at Google Trends, it's gone bonkers. People are interested in it right now. How do we buy that service? Does anybody buy a metaverse service right now? No, they don't. So that tells me that's an area to get into. What am I going to get into? We're investigating at the moment building data centers, because the metaverse needs to exist somewhere, which is more information on the internet. So I can go and build metaverse stuff and tech stuff, or I can build buildings, which I know how to do. I can build industrial sites. I can build factories. And in that factory, we install computers, and those computers we make available, and it's a cloud, essentially. The cloud is just a server farm. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking at investing in building our own data centers, building and starting a company, because we know how to start companies. And this is the lesson, right? Okay, I think there's a huge application for this. And one of the biggest fundamental issues with the metaverse is going to be compute power in close proximity to the users. That's the fundamental structural flaw that a lot of people don't realize right now, is that it's three-dimensional imagery. So two-dimensional graphics, you guys know we have to have big computers just to do the social media shit we do and process video. Well, think about then you want to have that in 3 dimensions, high-quality graphics. Gaming computers are already big and expensive, so then you take that to a whole nother level. So that's what I'm working on. If you want to know what I'm working on in 2022, 2023, is we're putting together a proposal to start basically building a pilot. At the moment, who builds data centers? It's like, well, I don't know. I don't know anyone building a data center. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So here in this business, we've got cybersecurity specialists. We've got IT specialists. We've got tech specialists. We know how to build buildings. We know how to do developments. We've got architects, designers, engineers, all part of our big ecosystem of our businesses. We can pull all that together. And a trending thing right now is there is an exponential growth in the amount of data that people are hoarding right now. Open your smartphone. Check in on how many photos you've got. How often do you go through and delete photos off your smartphone? Never. So your smartphone just needs to infinitely keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because you want your whole photo album in your pocket. How often do you buy iCloud storage? Do you buy Google storage? That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to be providing the data centers behind the iCloud and Google storage. Okay, no questions. Okay, I hope this has been helpful for everybody. This is an opportunity. I'm right here. If you want help with your business idea, if you're thinking about starting your own business, anybody that is watching online, I'm here for you to, in terms of answering questions. But I'll just quickly go back over those mistakes that you want to avoid if you haven't taken any notes. I'm getting a wrap up anyway on the time. So should I start my own business? My answer to that question is yes, you should. If you've been thinking about it, you absolutely should start your own business, and then start thinking about, okay, starting my own business, right, I'm going to start my own business. What are the next steps? So we want to know if we can do pre-sales. So the biggest mistake you can make is to not do any pre-sales, because you chew up a huge amount of money making your product or service before you go to your market. That's going to make you a cash negative business, which is not a valuable business, because you're going to keep chewing up a huge amount of cash before you can sell something to your customers. So the biggest mistake you can make is not doing pre-sales. Number 2, the biggest mistake you can make is not doing learning and not having an open mind and being ready to innovate and change and come out with version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. My case study is the 12th. It's an iPhone 12. We've got the iPhone 13. We want to be ready to do innovations. And so we want to have an open mindset, and we want to use our customer feedback and listen to that customer feedback to be making improvements to our product, not be a focus group of one. Number 2 is not being productive and being busy. So the biggest mistake you can be is wear a badge of honor that you're busy. And we want to be an effective, someone who has an effect. We want to be having an effect. So we want to be an effective manager. We want to think about productivity. So we want to be doing the one thing each day. So every morning I sit down, I carry a notebook around. The notebooks are like these notebooks. I've got them here in stock in the studio. I have these notebooks. They've got beautiful paper. They're the ones that I buy. These are Daycraft. I'm going to be coming out with some notebooks this year for you guys, because I'm going to scratch my own itch. I can never find the books that I want. So I'm coming out with, we've got one version right now of best practice notebooks. You can get those from us here at the office. If you want a best practice journal, notebook, you can get that from us. I'm scratching my own itch. I'm coming out with a high quality book, the book that I want to use. They'll be coming out later this year. But that's what I use. I buy these. They're quite expensive, compared to others. The price is a little bit higher, but for me, it's a good investment because I've got like 50 of these now, and they've been the notebooks I've been using. So I keep a record of everything I'm doing. I write a to-do list in these books every single morning, and I plan my day, and I make sure I go through and prioritize, right, what's the most uncomfortable, hardest, biggest thing I can do right now that changes everything for everybody. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 A/B split test. So if you're going to come up with a product or service that you can't pre-sell, build 2 and go to market and see which one performs, and obviously scratch your own itch. So the book reading and all those kinds of things. And number 6 is get yourself a copy of Infinite Magazine. It's free. And it's hopefully we can be helpful. There's more book reviews, there's articles, there's people, there's showcases, there's case studies. This is the thing to be reading to be helping you along with your career. Okay, not good working presentation. Hello, Peter in Canada. Maybe you could expand on that. Maybe there's a lag, or maybe we've got an upload problem. I don't think we've had an issue. Okay, oh, someone's got a flat battery. Oh, the camera's got a flat battery. Okay, my apologies. All right, camera's got a flat battery. So there's a lesson for everybody. Let's make sure everything's charged before we start. Okay, I will see you. If you're not following me on Instagram, jump on my Instagram. My handle is Kobi Simmat. My handle on LinkedIn is Kobi Simmat. Obviously, this is Best Practice TV on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to the Best Practice newsletter and email system, bestpractice.biz. So if you don't see me on any of those social media platforms, you'll definitely see me right here, same time next week on Best Practice TV. Bye for now. Actually, next week, we're talking NFTs, we're talking metaverse, we're talking Web 3.0 and what that means for your business. So come back same time next week, be ready and share this with your friends. So anybody who's interested to know what's going on, how will metaverse, NFTs and Web 3.0 affect your organization in your industry? Come back next week, same time. We're going to be right here live on YouTube. We're going to be talking about that stuff. I've got some great content coming for you. We need to build this audience so I can get some more questions. I will see you right here next time on Best Practice TV. Bye for now.